and welcome back to another Secret Sunday session today. Today I'm joined by Jacob Tonkin, who I know personally, and today we're going to be hearing about Jacob's story. Of course, this is the month of Movember where we are all about men's mental health. So we're going to be digging into Jacob's story, which I am very grateful that he has been so open and so honest with me to share with you guys today what he has been through and how that has led him to where he is today. So no further ado, Jacob, do you just want to explain to everyone and for the listeners out there who you are and what are you doing with yourself now?
So firstly, my name is Jacob Tonkin. I'm 26. I'm working with my dad. He has a pressure cleaning business, so I work with him most days, and also work with another fella that doing decorative concrete coatings. And between the both, we're just busy as, and always getting rained out as of late. But but yeah, no, we're busy and keeps me busy, and
Awesome.
yeah.
Now, I obviously brought you on here today because I want people to hear your story, because I believe that it is valid and it's something that is sometimes hard to talk about. And here at The Secret Burden on these sessions, we love to break down those stigmas and really start conversations in those areas. I obviously know the background, but to everyone else out there, do you want to explain a little bit about your story and what happened to you 2 to 3 years ago?
Yeah, so basically going back even probably a bit further, it was probably 6 years ago now. I was playing golf professionally, technically, even though I was a struggling professional, playing golf professionally and trying to make it on in Australia, as well as I was going overseas and playing. And then when I got back from a certain tournament, I think it was Philippines, I'd probably had my worst ever sort of couple days of golf, and when I put so much effort into it, it was sort of a bit crushing, and I ended up just taking time off. And it wasn't like an intentional, like it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take 6 months off or whatever, but I just ended up having time off. And then I found going out and drinking and stuff like that, which was something I never really did much of when I was 18, 19. I still hadn't gone to a nightclub or anything like that. And then, yeah, just got into a rut of drinking and going to nightclubs, and then it led me to taking drugs for the first time, which was very foreign to me. And then, yeah, it just spiraled out of control from there. And within 12 months of taking like my first drug, which was a pill, I got arrested for what I did. Yeah, that was within a 12-month period. So it was like a massive spiral out of control sort of thing.
Mm.
And it all happened just so quick, which I think it probably, for other people in a similar position, they feel like that too. But yeah, it just all went from 0 to 100, and my life changed just dramatically. So yeah.
Take me back to those moments when you started to get into drinking and you started to go out socially and then you took your first pill. Why did you decide to take it at the time?
Um, Probably curiosity, and probably a bit of peer pressure as well, I'd say. Because you don't want to be that old one out, I guess, and everyone around me was doing it, so it was probably a bit of both. But I think, yeah, I've always been sort of on the straight and narrow with everything, and I think just that little escape that thing managed to be a bit of an escape for me, so, and get away from whatever it was that I was going through, which wasn't, it wasn't horrible. People go through a lot worse, but for me at the time, it was kind of a struggling point for me. And yeah, it just seemed like an easy way out and get a guaranteed high out of it. And yeah, that's probably, I'd say, the reason.
Mm. And once you said that you took that first one, you found that you couldn't stop. You were almost addicted to that.
I think I was definitely addicted to the feeling it gave, and that excitement before it as well. Like, I remember working, and I knew I was only an hour away from sort of finishing on like a Friday, at this particular job I was at, and I remember just getting like nervous feelings about it, but excited feelings about it, about doing it, because I just yeah. So I mean, if that probably resonates with being addicted, maybe it probably does, but yeah, I remember those feelings, and it was like nearly excitement, and also yeah, like butterflies and excitement, and yeah, so
And in a way, I mean, you can, as an outsider looking in on that, people would see that as sad. That, I mean, you get
yeah,
excited over taking something that's going to give you more excitement in such a short
yeah.
period. Did you find that your body and yourself, you then became dependent on that, reliant on that?
Um, I think I did more so maybe in a social setting. Like I became dependent on it in, like if I was ever going and drinking and going out to do something, I couldn't just drink.
Yeah.
So but I think from like a normal point of view, like after those, because those weekends of doing that just drains you of all your natural sort of endorphins and all that sort of stuff, and you really feel pretty horrible Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and takes you like half the week or most of the week to even get back to sort of normal.
Mhm.
In that period, you're not really like, oh, I don't want to take it, but then all of a sudden you feel good again, and you forget about how you felt, and then all of a sudden it's a good idea again, and it's just a cycle, and
Mhm.
yeah.
And so you were arrested for, when they did arrest you, did they find pills on you, or what was your involvement at the time?
So the my involvement was I was um caught up in a couple. I was caught up with a few people in the supply sort of game, you could say, and that's basically what happened that day that I got arrested. And I was actually driving a guy to go sell the stuff to, and that person that he was selling to happened to be an undercover cop, and he was actually um, been watched for months, X amount of months, and so that was the day that they decided to get him, and I was there, and which is obviously unlucky, but I was also there, so it's not just unlucky. So yeah, that's how it happened. Yeah, and it was just like bang, all of a sudden, this is real. you know, I can't take back the last hour or day, and I'm right in the middle of it. So
And in that moment, did you regret anything that you had done or what you'd been through?
yeah, just total regret instantly. It's kind of like that. I don't know if people have had it, because I feel like I had it that day. Was where your life just flashes before your eyes, and you realize that if you could have that day again, or have even the last hour, couple of hours again, you would just you'd do anything to be able to have them again, and you'd do it completely different. But obviously, that was my feelings at the time. My feelings now are a bit different. I'm actually nearly glad that I went through it.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So
And looking back on that, did you think at any stage that you were ever going to get caught?
no,
Why?
never, because maybe because of the percentage of people that get done compared to what don't get in trouble. Because for me, I didn't know anyone that had been in jail really, or arrested for it. I might have known one maybe, but not personally. And so it's just like this magical thing that it's like, oh, you hear of it, but you don't know anyone who goes through it, or it's not close enough to where it's a reality. So no, I never thought it would ever, that day would ever come. I'd done a lot of things where I didn't even give it a second thought, and where now I think back and go, wow, like my thought process is totally different. If I was to ever even do anything remotely close to that, I'd probably be very scared. Whereas
Mm.
before it was like bulletproof kind of
Yeah,
emotion. You
yeah.
just think you can get away with everything, and you think you can do anything, and yeah,
Because I think as well that perception around taking drugs, it's so commonly used in terms, like we see drugs in movies and we see, we can't deny it. We go out and we see people taking drugs and it's around us. We hear about it. But actually, people getting caught is very limited in knowing the people
yeah.
do get, I guess, consequences for their actions. And do you think that's why drugs, it's kind of glamorized in the world that we are in today.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like I said before, I didn't know anyone that had been through that kind of stuff, and and most people don't. So it's sort of like this cool looking thing, if you want to put it like that. Even guys that are like in that game of dealing with drugs and stuff. It's uh, because I can kind of relate to that feeling. It's kind of like a fast lane thing, and it's like I'm untouchable, but the reality is you're not, and um, it doesn't make you like a horrible person that you're doing it, but you're gonna eventually it catches up with you, and you just like I said before, I just would have done anything to take back that day and do it different. And once it happens, there's no going back. And I was lucky, fortunate enough where it only cost me what it cost me, but some people that I know, it costs like decades of their life, which is in the middle part of your life. That's your whole life, really. You
Mm,
know.
mm.
So yeah.
And so take me through sentencing. Was it something where going to court was a big wake up call for you, where reality was setting in that you were going to go away for a while?
Yeah, that was every time I went to court, that was where I realized where I was again and realized the situation I was in, because I'd have a court case and then, it'd be adjourned for 3 months or something. And then, you almost feel like, oh, like life's like, oh, it's like, this is like good, like it's normal. And then, but then you sort of, oh my God, I got caught again next week. And then just the anxiety of it all sets in. And then those days of walking in there and it's just all so serious. And yeah, and then when you realize the strong possibility of the jail time that you're going to do, yeah, it's just like no feeling really describes to it. The only thing I could closely relate to it is like a death of someone close or like something like that. And I'm not going to say it's the same because it's not, but it's really a horrible gut wrenching feeling that you can only, yeah, you don't know about it until you're going through it.
Mm. And how was that experience being in jail?
Um, it's uh, it's it's really, I don't know, it's not for the faint-hearted at all. But in saying that, I had a very good run myself in there. I was very lucky. Just I slotted in, and I had certain people around me that were really, really good. I ended up making really, really good friends. I'm going to be friends for life with some of these people. So for myself, it was a lot better than most people, and like I'll admit that because I just know it's true. And I don't want to sit here and say it was horrible every single day, because I really did have like some good support around me. But as far as like when it comes to family and everything, like I'm so close with my family, and that's where it killed me every day. So it wasn't so much the actual facing what jail had to offer inside there, was which is daunting as well. But no, it was just more the fact that I'm basically just been my family's gone. Even though I can still see them every now and again and make a phone call, yeah, it was like that. That was what killed me the most.
Because you were in there during COVID where there were restrictions in place, was that correct?
Yeah, so I I was about 5 or 6 months in, or it's about 7 or 8 months in, when COVID came in. And at first it was like, oh, what's this? But then obviously, as you could probably remember, a month in, it was like, oh no, this is actually like a big thing, and it's changing our lives around us. And so I had actually a visit, and it was for like the 24th of February or something like that. It was 2020, and it was my first visit in a little while. And then I remember they just said, just shut the doors basically, and said there's going to be no visits until further notice, kind of thing. And then it just dragged out and dragged out, and then it ended up being the end of that year. So it was like 11 months later before I got to get a visit again. So I went basically nearly a year without seeing anyone. And when I did see them, seen my mum and dad, it was a 30-minute visit with the mask on, and you couldn't touch. So, which made it probably even worse. Um, but yeah, that felt like a double sort of sentence, because for me, the worst thing was not seeing my parents and my family and stuff. and obviously you can every couple of weeks you see visits, and then that gets taken away, and then all of a sudden it's like you're doing real hard time then, because the one thing you look forward to is like gone. So and then
Mm.
you, and then you think, oh well, the next time will be when I get released, and that's just like too hard to put up with, thinking that it's like 18 months away or something, So that was the hardest thing, yeah, when COVID came in.
But through all of that, like that sounds so isolating. How did you continue to work through that and get up each day knowing that you're not going to be able to see the ones that you love? And normally that's one of the privileges that you're allowed to have in there, and you're not going to be able to have that.
Yeah. I think we always had hope. So they never said it's going to be no visits until a certain day. It was just always based on the health advice at the time. So we always just had hope, and always saying, well, hopefully it's by June, or hopefully it's by August, and surely it's by October. And it was just always hope, I think, which was probably the biggest thing. And then also just the people I had around me. I ended up living my last 12 months was with a unit of 7 other guys, and um, they were all really good guys, and a few of us were from the same sort of area, and then had a couple of us that were from overseas, and um, we just talked a lot. Every day at 5 o'clock, the door shuts behind you, gets locked, and it's just used until the next morning. And you got so much time on your hands because you don't have devices, and you got TV, but there's not that many good things on normal TV. Everyone it's all on Netflix and all that sort of stuff. So it's just like lots of talking and games of chess, and and you become real close with them guys. They're your family.
Mm. A lot
Yeah.
of people, I think, with outside perspectives would look at that and say, well, you guys are just criminals.
Mm,
And that is the stereotype of people that are imprisoned.
yeah.
What do you think about that, knowing what you've been through and being in that environment and taking in those opinions of others and seeing that, but going how you've lived a different experience?
Yeah. Well, all those criminals, like they're brothers, and they're like uncles and dads and granddads, and everyone's got them. Everyone's got a brother or a dad or a granddad and stuff like that. And so people that think that generally they don't have family members in there and stuff like that. So I can kind of understand it, but I think if you just realize that these people, not everyone, there's some animals in there and some really bad people that should be in there, but there's a lot of people in there that are genuinely good people that have made mistakes, and that's probably 80+% of the people in there are good people. It's probably even like 90 plus. They're genuinely good people that have made mistakes and had bad judgments, and it might have been just a one day. It could have been too many beers, and they thought, oh, they'll be right. They'll drive home, or this or that, which is a story I heard heaps. You know, there's a lot of people that have made that mistake before, and they don't get in trouble because nothing happens. They drive home and they make it home, and everything's good. But then there's the odd person that does it, um, and they get in trouble, and they end up being in the system because of that. And that's obviously a really bad thing to do, and you shouldn't do it. But it's just a one bad day and one bad error shouldn't be looked at as like a hard criminal, and you deserve to be in there kind of thing. So that's the way I see it anyway. Yeah.
And I believe it's so true as well, because you even look at the instance of, as we spoke about before, lots of people take substances, lots of people take drugs regularly, and
Yeah.
yet they could be the first one to say, oh, he deserves to go to jail, or
Yeah,
just
that's right.
court, it's fine, all of a sudden he's a criminal, yet
Yeah,
people are hypocritical in their own judgments because they
that's
could
right.
be the first to say, oh, I used to take that when I was younger and I never got caught.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, these criminals, if you want to say it like that, these criminals are your they're your people that they're your brother, they're your dad, they're your uncle, they're your, they're not criminal. They're not just criminals. Even if they've been in trouble for whatever, and that's like I said, that's like 90% of cases. There's an odd case where they are dead set bad people. They've done bad things, and them certain people shouldn't ever be out. Um, yeah, without going too far into it, but certain things come to mind, and those people should never be out, and they should be looked at that way. But yeah, but that's a very rare case. It's mainly good people. There's a lot of good people in there.
Mm. And when we talk about, I guess, good people, obviously you were in there for a while. And as you said, you were stripped back from a lot of things, devices, technology, and a lot of it was just talking and being with the people that you were surrounded by. Did you
Yeah,
find that that grew you as a person and you found who you were because you only had time really to work on yourself?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I realized I realized really quickly when I went in that there was basically two roads I had two choices, and it was one, I could go backwards and take the easy way out of, say, jail, and keep using drugs because um, there's probably more drugs in jail than there is on the outside. It's, and this is supposed to be a rehabilitation sort of place, and that's another thing anyway. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. What was the what was the question?
I was saying that when you were in that environment, did you think that working so much on yourself that you were able to learn more about yourself so coming out you could be a better person?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Because like you said, you're taking everything front on. You're not taking the little escapes, like the looking at social media for hours and escaping that way, or you're escaping by taking a drug, or you take which you can do. Like I think, like I was saying, is you can do that because it's a lot easier to do that. But if you choose that harder way of n- you know taking it on front on, and putting up with your thoughts in your head, and your the quietness of, like, just yourself in a room, and yeah, you really do work yourself out pretty quick when it's like that. Yeah.
So
'Cause
I'm interested to know, why didn't you go down the same path? You know, if drugs are so, just say, readily available in there, then the outside world, you've been in
mm,
that environment, you know that you can get a high out of it. Why
mm.
did you not go down that path and decide to really work on yourself and get out of there?
I think because it was also raw. When I got sentenced, um, it was a day or two later where I walked into Grafton, maximum, the old Grafton prison there, and yeah. Oh, I've lost my train of thought again. What was the question?
I love it. Is it why, when you were in there, if drugs were so readily available and you were down that path
Mm.
before, why did you not take that path again?
I think just because of how raw everything was, because it was only a day or two before that I got sentenced, and I got sentenced to 2 years, 3 months minimum, 4.5 year total. And because of all the things that had happened with all the court dates and everything, and it was already killing me, and it was already hurting everyone around me. Um, and finally, it was sort of all over, and I could repair everything from then. Like it was hard to sort of start when I knew I was going away and all that sort of stuff. And I think the finally when I got sentenced, it I was able to start the process of, okay, this is now rock bottom for me. I thought it was before, but now this is actually rock bottom, and I can actually go forward from here. And I just knew that there was no in between. I knew I was either going that way, like I was talking about, or I was going the wrong way. And I remember clearly coming to that crossroad in my first day or two of being in there, just because of what I was seeing. I was seeing things I'd actually never seen on the outside. It was a shock, and
Mhm.
yeah, but it was very easy for me to make that decision because of everything that happened and everything that I'd put my family through and everything I put myself through. So it was, even though it was probably the harder thing to do because it's so much easier to just do the easy thing, I knew it would pay dividends later for myself.
Good
Yeah.
on you. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And looking at that, when you say a lot of the time you were doing it for family and the people around you, do you remember the moment where you had to tell your family what was, like, you'd been arrested, or when they got that phone call? Did that ever play on you how they would react?
Yeah, heaps. Yeah. Um, I wasn't the one that had to tell them, so they found out through, I think, a friend. A friend actually seen me getting arrested, so and then he was able to contact um, people close to me. So one of them was my cousin, and so they found out pretty quickly. So whether it's a good thing or not, I think the last thing I wanted to do was tell them where I was, but they already knew. Um, and it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night too, from memory, when I was able to even ring them, which was killing me too, because I that day actually my phone went dead hours before that happened. So they hadn't heard from me in hours and hours too. So that would have killed them, and that played on me a lot. Yeah, just
Mhm.
just wondering how they felt, because it was sickening to me. But I know it would have been probably even worse for them.
Have you spoken to them about that now?
Um, we have. I think the conversation's come up a couple of times, and I think we've probably never gone deep enough into it because we probably just didn't want to just go down that road again. Which is just the way it is, I guess. It'd probably be good to really like go deep into it, but it's just really hard, I think. And yeah, it was the hardest time in our family, definitely by a long way. So
Do you feel ashamed of what you've done, what you've been through?
um, I think I might have felt that before. I don't know if I feel too ashamed now so much, just because I just think it's. I'm just one of those people that. Oh, sorry. I'm one of those people that have I've got caught and um cop like the book thrown at me, and that just doesn't. I'm just one of those people that's where it happened, and I've been able to see that the good in it, because if that didn't happen, I don't know where I would be, because I think it took that for me to stop what I was doing and stop the drug use and all that sort of stuff. So I think because of that, I don't feel so ashamed, because I'm a bit more happy that it happened.
Mm.
At the start, I think I probably was ashamed, because I just know that people in my circle, or just outside my circle, I know everyone would have known what had happened, and that's a bit shameful. But I think now, because it's been so long too, it's been 5 years, I think, since it happened, since pretty much nearly 5 years, just under. So yeah, I think my feelings towards it very changed over time, and more I feel more lucky that it's happened, because I've been able to go through such a thing to then grow from it and realize what when some things go wrong now in life, I realize I have to remind myself that it's not that bad,
Mhm.
and I can use that. If that had never happened, I wouldn't be able to call back on that sort of experience and stuff. So yeah.
And then, so coming out after you were released, how was that experience? Because obviously you've been inside for a long period of time, and then you come back out into your community. Were there things that you were looking for that had changed, or you were looking for that people had changed? It was this whole new world that you were discovering
Yeah.
once again.
Well, before I'd gone away, there was no COVID, obviously, and then when I came out, I think in our area there was the first major sort of lockdown, and then there was the second one. Well, I came out between the two,
Mm.
and so everything was still operating pretty normal when I came out. But but yeah, to answer your question, pretty much one of the things I remember is going into doctor's surgery and having to scan in like from your phone.
Yeah.
I'd never done that, and I'd never knew about that or anything. And I remember going in there and going to this like station, and it was like a scanning station, and I was looking for like the code and everything, and I remember being so like anxious about it and like weirded out by it. I walked out and called my sister, and I was like, I don't know what to do here. Can I just walk in? Is that bad? Just things like that, and it was like a big change. The very early in one of my first days, I was out going to the shops to sort out stuff like a phone, and that was like bizarre feeling, because I was always just so used to such a slow paced nothing going on, not many people around, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, it was like 600 people at the shopping center, like that you can count, and it's like going past you, and yeah, that was like a bizarre feeling, but it wasn't like a horrible feeling to me. It might have been for someone else, but for me, it was just like, whoa, this is really quick. Like this is all happening.
Were you scared to face the people that you knew previously again, as in family and friends and the community?
No, I don't think, not so much family and friends, because I think I was always, um, I don't know, I've always, the people in my circle I've always been really comfortable with, and never really, I knew they'd never think bad about me and stuff like that. But I think just the people that you know, and the people that I've known for a long time, for whether it be the golf club or something, and just having that sort of stigma about myself, and because people only just think what they think, and they don't, without knowing too much. And that was probably just the worrying thing, because I, before long, I was at the golf club again and trying to play golf, and I knew that, I know some people would look at me and like, I don't know what they're thinking, because they'd look at me and not even say something to me, whether they recognize me or not, or I'm not sure. But yeah, just that was probably the worrying thing. Not so much the close people, but just those people that are out a bit, and what they think. But that's also, it was all raw then too. It's now so much, I don't care as much.
Are you now proud of your story and what you've been through?
Um, yeah, I think I'll never be proud of what I did or anything like that. But everything I've gone through after that, and yeah, I'm definitely proud of that. Yeah, because yeah, no, I definitely am. I'm proud of that. Yeah.
And do you feel that now you are more aware when you come across certain situations of your own mental health and how you can support yourself?
Yeah, I am. I think the biggest thing, and it's a bit of a, it's nearly a cliche now, but it shouldn't be. But just having people to talk to is just it's just massive. And I was lucky where I had people to talk to, and people on the outside still that I talk to and everything. And I think when people start losing that battle with mental health, and when they do lose that battle, they don't have anyone there. And whether it's the people around there's fault or not, it's because it probably isn't. But just when they stop having someone to talk to about it, or if they never actually open up and talk about it, that's when um, it starts to grab a hold of them, I think. And I'm not an expert or anything, but just from what I've seen, because I've seen guys really like low, especially the guys around me when I was in, and seeing guys that didn't make it, you know, and finding out hours after that, yeah, he'd lost his life because of mental health. And yeah, so
Yeah, it's definitely one of those topics that's really hard to talk about, and that's why we have days and we have months to raise awareness, especially in the men's area, because it's so taboo. And as much as men as well, we love to talk about, go and talk about it. It's you got to
mm,
walk the walk, and sometimes that's really hard to do.
yeah, I think for them, for men themselves to know that it's all right to do that too, because I'm guilty of it too. I'll feel really crap some days, and I won't tell anyone. So just having the awareness of, for men to actually know that you can do it, and it's not any less masculine to do that. So yeah.
I find it really hard as well coming out and knowing what you've been through to get a job or to, I guess, earn your right back into society, almost like you've got to prove yourself.
Yeah, I know that's definitely like that. For myself, I was very lucky, because I basically walked back into a job with my dad, and my dad's mate that my dad was working for as well. And so I was very lucky, but I do know that it is hard for fellas to get jobs. And some guys that I was close with in when I was in, I know that one of them had to lie about his last 5 years, because he was actually in jail. And they ended up getting a job. One of them, he ended up getting a job, and they ended up doing a check on him and found out that he was actually in jail. And they said, "Well, why didn't you tell us?" And he said, "Well, why would I do that and not get the job? Like, I'm never going to get a job if I tell the truth." And they said, "Well, that's fair enough." They gave him a go, and he still got the job today. And this was like probably 18 months ago. So I can understand to a degree, like, for knowing people's personalities and stuff like that, whether they're right for the job. And but at the end of the day, if they're a decent person and they're the right person for the job, that it shouldn't be that hard to get jobs, But unfortunately, that's just the way it is at the moment.
Mm.
And yeah,
And looking at where you are at now, are you happy where you are?
yeah, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm definitely happy. I only dreamed of even just being the way is now when I was still in. And sometimes I still have to remind myself what I had and what I got now. And I am very happy. I have my days and stuff like that, as I think everyone does. But no, I am happy.
And I think that hope really pulled through then, eh?
Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, exactly. So.
If we look at your whole journey and your whole experience, what are some of the big takeaways that you could share with us today?
Um, Bad times, they do end if you stick with it. If you just keep at it and don't let it consume you. I just remember everyone did it a bit different, but when you've got like dozens of months to try and get through when you're in, it's a weird feeling when you wake up in the morning and you want the day to end every single day, and you do anything for it to just end and be nighttime and then start it over again. And it's a really weird feeling, but if you can manage to like have things to look forward to, um, I think that was the biggest key for me, and that's what I learned was if you are struggling with things, if you can stick at it and find any reason, doesn't matter what the reason is, but any reason to be excited about something, that whether it's a week away or 2 weeks away or a month away or tomorrow, or if you can just find anything, just keep you going, because you don't know how you're going to feel in the year. In 1 year, a lot can change, or even 6 months, and you might not have the feelings that you have now or the thoughts and stuff. So that's what I learned. I think was, even though it might seem like the end of the world and seem so far away, like happiness or something, or where you want to be, it's if you stick at it, because everyone deserves to be that. Everyone deserves to have happiness and stuff. I think if you work at it, you can get there.
Mm. And what would be your note to someone that may look at yourself or may look at someone that has been imprisoned and say they are a criminal, they deserve their time, or 2 years wasn't enough? What would
Mm.
you say to them to just have a little bit of a perspective change?
Probably just that what happened to me and what happens to other people, it can happen very quickly, and it can happen to you. It could happen to your dad. It could happen to someone you're close to. And if you actually put yourself in them shoes and realize that you could be that person where your family members in there, and your dad could be gone for a long time. And I think if you realize that that could happen, or that could be anyone, you might actually just look at things a little bit differently. You know, it's the same with like sickness and stuff like that. Some people are just unlucky and they go through a sickness and stuff like that. Can happen to anyone. My family's been healthy for a long time, but that could all change in one day. We're not all bulletproof to these things of sickness, or like making mistakes in life. And so just I think that's probably the only way to really look at it for me.
And
And
we,
they're normal. You got to look at the person as the person, not the mistake they made 20 years ago or 2 years ago, or half their life ago. So, I know I always judge people on the way they are. I had guys in there that murdered people, and that sounds really bad, but in a lot of the cases, it was this fella I knew was drunk out of his mind when he was 18, and he killed his best mate, and just in a fight. And but like I knew him 19 years later, and he's still in jail, and he was like one of the nicest blokes I've ever met, and he was a genuine good person. But he just made a big mistake one day, and obviously the intoxication didn't help. But so when someone's in there for a year for drunk driving, or in there for a year for making a bit of a mistake, that doesn't define the person they are. So
I love
yeah.
that. And one of the things that I really loved as well that when we were talking about prison and sentences, you were talking about the facility almost like rehabilitation. And when you're in there, you're given two choices, and it's up to
Yeah,
you what choice you decide to make. And I think that is amazingly put.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And you definitely decided on your own. It's if you go in there with, you know, I'm going to come out like this or whatever. It's all mindset and it's all your choice, and you can come out any way you want. But it's only if you really want that. And yeah. And as far as rehabilitation goes, there's a long way to go for New South Wales prisons. I know only because I know that, but probably all around the country, there's a long way to go to actually call that a rehabilitation center so much because there's people that go in there that have done very minor things and come out much worse. So yeah, but that's a topic. That's another topic, I guess. But
That's another session for another time.
yeah, but
Amazing. And my last question is going to be to some young person that is out there that maybe just like yourself many years ago, out socializing, taking lots of drugs, thinking they're invincible. What would
mm,
your message be to them?
um, that I know that they wouldn't listen to me because I didn't. No, I don't know. It's a tough one. I think the only thing they can do is listen to things like I've said and in this session and try to like just envision themselves going through it maybe and realizing that it actually does happen because clearly I'm sort of evidence of that. And there's other people out there that have too. And if you can see the things they've gone through, it might just make you pull up a second and go, hang on, you know, I better like just take it easy
Mm.
and realize that these things can happen. So yeah, otherwise there's not much really. It's hard to convince people. That's what I've realized is people are going to do what they want to do, and you can tell them all you want, but it's not until they, for themselves, genuinely get the idea around in their head. And so hopefully that's enough anyway for me to share that, and it's enough to be good enough. But yeah,
Yeah, honestly, amazing. Just thank you so much for being, firstly, so brave to share your story, and secondly, just to get on here and actually admit all the stuff that you've been through. Because, as I
yeah,
said, those stereotypes are really strong and they're really hard to break down. But you being
mm,
so open and honest is one step further to really breaking down
yeah.
that stigma.
Uh,
And you should be so proud. I am, and I'm so grateful that you shared your story today. So thank you so much for
no,
coming.
that's no problem. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. And thank you so much to everyone out there as well for tuning in and listening and being open to start another unique conversation. Because, as we said, these stigmas need to be broken down because you said it perfectly. At the end of the day, we're all human and we all deserve to be treated like one. So,
That's right.
thank you for listening. Thank you, Jacob. And we'll catch you all again in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.